getting back on track after the holidays for World Carnivore Month. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name's Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So I've been a strict 4-year carnivore, and actually this week would be my carnivore anniversary. As far as being strict goes, I started back then. It wasn't a New Year's resolution or anything like that. It was just the time in my life where I decided to just make it strict. And I had been doing carnivore for a few years before that, but I don't really count that as carnivore years because I was off it almost as much as I was on it. I was either on it 100% or off it 100%. And when I went off it, I went way off it. Sometimes it was just for a day. Sometimes it was just for a week. Sometimes it was just for a month. And I learned through all that how to become a strict carnivore. I learned the good and bad parts of trying to get strict. Most importantly, I learned I have a sugar and carbohydrate addiction. I knew I had a sugar and carbohydrate addiction, but I didn't understand the severity of how bad that sugar and carbohydrate addiction was. And it wasn't until I got to the point where I just accepted the severity of it that I ended up just giving into my addiction. And what I mean by giving into the addiction was realizing it's way bigger than I can manage. Simple as that. I learned that I'm one of those abstainers and that I'm not a moderator. Some people, like I've mentioned before in my videos, are really good at moderating. They can have a little snack here or there once or twice throughout the day off carnivore, and it doesn't seem to faze them. Whereas me, makes a big difference. It just doesn't work well for me. When I do that, I go way off carnivore. I think a lot of you people out there can relate. So the holidays can be difficult for you people. I've been there. I understand what it's like. So I want to give you some tips to help get you back on track for either World Carnivore Month, which is every January, or just getting back on track after the holidays. So let's see what we can do to move forward, because some of you have already decided as of early January, you're going to be strict, and that's good. Sometimes it's been a life stress that sent you out of whack. Possibly it could have just been ill-prepared. Maybe it was alcohol for some people. And while you had a little bit of alcohol in your system, you thought, well, you know, what's a little bit off the carnivore diet? And then you went off, and then you feel it the next day, on top of the guilt you might feel for everything that you had accomplished up until that point. So let's try and set some, not ground rules, but guidelines to help steer you in a positive, good direction. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know I'm going to give an update in a future video about what's been going on with me, probably my next video. I haven't made a video in a few months, and there's some reasons why. So I'll explain all that later. The good news is I recently found out that my thyroid medication has been off. So I've been really tired for no reason at all. And it turned out I was actually on a prescription that was too strong for me. So that's wonderful news. Just carnivore just keeps on healing the body. So now I'm down. I'm totally down from a 225, I think it's a milligram dose or microgram, I'm not sure exactly what it is, millimole, to 150. So since I've started carnivore, it's just gone down and down and down. And it's been slow. Sometimes it's gone faster than other times. But the important thing is it's going in this great direction. I've had hypothyroidism for 30 years, and only in the last few years has it been getting better after 25 years before that of it consistently getting worse every single year. So the first thing I want to stress when you're doing carnivore, you're getting back on track, get out of the mindset of fasting. When you're trying to tackle carnivore and you're thinking, okay, I really screwed up today. I didn't do very well. I'm having a hard time getting back on track. I know if I fast tomorrow or today, I'm going to get back on track. It'll help cleanse my body and get everything out of my body. You know what? If you're struggling with going off carnivore all the time, don't fast. I'm not saying fasting's a bad thing. I'm saying right now it's too much for you to tackle. It's your hunger cues and signals that are screwed up after years and years and years of possibly a bad diet. And now that you're trying to do something strict like this, it's hard to recognize if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, if you're just bored, or if it's a sugar craving, if it's your mind playing tricks on you. So I highly recommend don't do intermittent fasting right now. Stay full. So that leads me into my next point. Stay full on carnivore. Stop with the intermittent fasting until you are old hat with carnivore. Between 3 to 6 months, I highly recommend. It takes a couple weeks for the physical cravings to get out of your body, out of your mind. And it takes another few months, depending on the person, could take easily up to 6 months before the habits get out of your body. So stay satiated on carnivore. Stay comfortably full. I find it's hard to overeat on carnivore. Your body will tell you when it's time to stop. Simple as that. Listen to it. Listen to your body when you've eaten almost as much as you can comfortably, and then when it's time to just stop eating, go, no, I'm good, right? And eat even when you're not hungry. I can't stress that enough. So easy on the fasting. Don't do any fasting for the first few months. Sounds good on paper. It's not exactly as good when you're actually trying to do carnivore. You're tackling too much at once. Second, stay full or satiated. Third, keep food on hand. Always have food on hand. Eat when you're not always hungry, because you're still trying to get in tune with your hunger signals. Right now, don't worry about that. Just stay comfortably full. If you've gone 5 or 6 hours without eating, which is easy to do on carnivore, I highly recommend changing your perspective, just having that food. You might think, well, it's intermittent fasting is a good thing to do. Enough with the intermittent fasting for now. Just stick with carnivore. Stay comfortably full. It's the easiest way to keep temptations away. If you're satiated and staying full, you're going to be less likely to turn around and have a drink or have something that's off carnivore. And if you have all these things at your disposal all the time, say keeping food at work, that's a great way to go. So that's leading into the next point, keeping food at work. Almost every place has a fridge. If not, maybe you can keep something that's non-perishable. You can bring your food in a little temperature controlled little lunchbox. They have them out now, so you can keep an ice pack in there. And so anything that needs to stay cold for a while can stay cold. And also if it's the winter, which it is right now when I'm recording this video in early January of 2025, it's really nice to be able to just have food accessible when you're at work. And if you get to the point where you're just bad with bringing food to work with you, keep something that's non-perishable. Keep something like I keep pickled eggs. I keep pickled eggs at work because when the jar starts to get low, I just replace the jar. I keep it in the fridge all the time. It lasts months. I don't need it to help keep me on carnivore because I've been doing this long enough. I just stick to carnivore really strict anyway. I keep that at work for the days where I skip out and I forget to have breakfast, or I forgot to bring something and I forgot my lunch. So I have something at work I can snack on comfortably throughout the day. 1 or 2 eggs, sometimes 3 tops. 3 is more of a meal for me, and 1 or 2 is enough to get me through it. Now, I don't stay satiated as long having eggs. If I have 1, 2, or 3 eggs, it's not like I can go the next 6 hours without feeling hungry. In fact, after you eat lean, like chicken or turkey or something like eggs, you'll find that you will not be in touch with your hunger signals. Right? That isn't good to eat too lean on carnivore. You have to have fatty meat. We were conditioned for so many years to keep fat out of our diet. You can't cut out carbohydrates from your diet without increasing your fat. So I highly recommend making sure you're getting as much red meat as possible. That's the next point. So all these things I'm suggesting are really easy things to implement. Unless you're in some part of the world where you just can't get red meat that easily, it's a pretty simple thing to do. Stick to red meat. It keeps you satiated longer. It just does. And it's because of the natural higher fat content. Even if you're just having ground beef and you take some of the fat out, there's still just enough fat in there that you're going to be satiated longer. Experiment with it if you don't believe me. Have one amount of red meat. I don't care if it's steak or I don't care if it's ground beef. Have that volume again the next day in chicken, and you'll see how long it takes before you get hungry. The red meat will last you hours. The chicken will probably last you almost half as long, maybe 2/3 as long. And then before you know it, you're hungry again. And you're like, well, I was stuffed at lunch or I was stuffed at breakfast. And here I am, I'm hungry again. And I'm not prepared because I didn't have food on me. So if you have red meat, you're just going to be satiated longer. And if you do decide to have a snack here or there, you can then have chicken or eggs or turkey, something like that. The next thing is just don't make it overly complicated. I can't stress this enough. Don't do a bunch of other things and carnivore. Just do carnivore. Get good at the one thing, then spread it out from there. All right. I hope you found this video interesting. I hope you found it educational. I hope you found it motivational as well. Try and stick to what you're trying to do. You're not trying to redo you. You're trying to become a better version of yourself. So thanks a lot. I got to get going to work. I'll talk to you later. Cheers.